Hi, and welcome to episode 177 of the Gamers of the Lost Spark podcast. I'm your host, Stuart Burgess, and with me today is the other spark on the pod, Mr. Stephen Carter.
Hello, mate. How are we doing?
I'm good. The boys are back.
Gosh, this feels really strange. Like it's been a long, long time, but ever since you sort of mumbled, "Shall we?" Muttered, "Shall we bring it back?" I was like, "Yes." I think it's time. It's been a long time, but it feels great to actually be back.
Well, I think we all play games. I mean, so for anybody who's watching this for the first time, we used to do this 6 years ago. It originally started out with Darren and Anthony, and James got involved, and then Darren stepped aside, and Anthony carried it on with you, me, and James and Manny, I think it was as well on
Yeah, yeah,
occasions, and then basically, what was it? 2020, wasn't it? It was just before the world went to pot.
yeah. Just
Yeah.
before it all went crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we basically were talking about the new Xbox Series X console coming out,
Mm.
and Anthony went on a holiday, and then the world went to pot, and we never really carried on. So 6 years later, we're back, and we're going to talk about gaming again.
Yeah, it's better late than never. You know what I mean? But it's like when we're just talking about it and just before we record, it's like what's happened in that 6 years. It's like we could just do an entire show on what's happened in 6 years. Not even gaming related, just what has happened. Because, like you say, the world went to pot. Everything for ourselves individually has happened and things. As all personal, professional lives and what have you. But yeah, 6 years is a long time. But I kind of dipped out of a little bit with gaming, but recently got back in. And then when you mentioned it, it was like I felt like because we had our group to like talk about gaming and the podcast and things outside of that, I didn't really have an outlet to discuss gaming, and I did a separate podcast about beer and kind of tried to intermingle it in there a little bit to kind of have that escapism, but it never really kind of scratched the itch. So it's nice to actually have an outlet again to talk about these things.
It's nice talking to each other, but you're sort
Yeah.
of messaging, or I'm driving a lot, or you have weird work hours, and you've got two kids in the background now. If anybody can hear this,
I apologise if you can hear Oscar wailing in the background. Yeah.
hey, I've got a 15-year-old downstairs now who's dancing, so I've just told her, don't turn the amp on. You can
Keep
have the
it down.
TV on, but yeah, keep it down. I'm not sure when they're more noisy, when they're 15 or when they're
Hmm.
your age.
Yeah, at least at that age, they might be able to at least put their headphones on or their earphones in, and they just keep themselves to themselves, I guess, don't they? But yeah, again, that's some in 6 years. I've had Seb and Oscar in that time. Seb's coming up to 4, so
Blimey.
he's 4 in May. Oscar's 7 months. So yeah, so that took up a lot of time, which was kind of why I ended up having to snowball the last podcast that I did. Work and things, and yeah, it's just been a bit of a crazy, crazy ride these last few years. But yeah, it's good to be back, mate. It's good to be back, and and like we say, Anthony kind of he sailed into the sunset, didn't he? It feels like he went to his happy place, and is yet to return.
Well, I think the last podcast that we did was, I think, was it something like the 5th of February
Mm,
2020 or something like that. And ironically, Anthony has just gone to Star Wars Land. But I wrote a little bit to say, so the other Sparks they might come in. They've
yeah,
both
fingers
said,
crossed.
both Anthony and James have said, they might come in every now and again, but I just sort of thought, to jovial it up a bit, to say, Anthony went off to Star Wars Land in 2020 and never come back again, and James has gone into hiding because he's still not made Viva Pinata 2.
Yeah, he'll never forgive him until it's made. He'll never forgive him. But yeah, I feel like Anthony, like he says he's gone on holiday. I think he's just moonlighting there. I think he's actually got a job there. I think he's dressing up as stormtroopers and Darth Vader and Kylo Ren, and I think he's just living his best life over there. I think he's finally found his calling of living in Star Wars land.
Well, I'm not sure if it's still up, but his profile picture for a few years on Instagram and Facebook and those platforms was him holding the lightsaber that he
Mm,
built. Is
yeah,
it
yeah.
Edge of Tomorrow, the Star Wars Land? I can't remember
Oh,
now.
I
But
don't
there is
know.
literally, like, he's holding this like lightsaber, and he
Mm.
looks like a 10-year-old boy looking at it.
Yeah,
So
it's great. It's just to see how much joy he gets from going there. I'm super jealous. It looks fantastic. Like it looks absolutely amazing. Like I'm not one for theme parks, but that and the Marvel section and things look absolutely phenomenal. But seeing his little face when he's going over, like you say, it just gives me a little warm fuzzy feeling inside that he's living his best life when he goes. It's great. It's lovely to see.
Well, I think the one reason, I think the one reason is, like Nicola always said, that they never had children because she didn't need a child because she already had Anthony.
She's got a big enough one already.
You can't get more of a child than
No.
when you see that image.
No, like I say, and that's it's great to see, like you say, when you see his little face and how and that's I'd love to go there myself and hopefully one day take the kids, have a little trip out. But as things are getting more crazy expensive, it might take a little while before we can actually manage to make that happen. Sadly.
So you still doing the Points of Brew podcast?
No, that became a casualty of everything really. Like I still involved with craft beer, and I have changed my Instagram page away from called Points of Brew. It's now SteakArt91, which is pretty much my gaming thing, and just it went to more of a general page. But just with life, having Seb just didn't give me my free time anymore. Aaron had a little boy. He had George, so that took up his spare time. And then we set up another business, another separate bar as well. So it just it one of the things that had to go. Unfortunately, it might come back another day. But yeah, it just kind of felt like the craft beer bubble was kind of shrinking a little bit, maybe. And the kind of engagement and the listens wasn't what it used to be. So yeah, it just kind of just made sense to park it and just sort of a bit like this podcast, really. Just come back to it maybe another day in the future. Maybe, who knows.
Well, I think life just takes over. At the end of the day, we've all got families, we've all got jobs or businesses. I'm sort of moved from. I still build cinemas for people, so I still run immersive cinema rooms. I still build cinemas, but I now have 50-year-old knees, so they're starting to hurt a bit more, and so I do a lot more sort of like promoting and marketing for our industry now. We do another one reason we also sort of made me think about this was last year. I think it was sort of April, May last year, we started the HCA Tech Talk podcast, which is a bit what I do. So cinemas, audiovisual, that type of thing. Talking to integrators and talking to manufacturers and distributors. So I sort of got my itch back for podcasting. We do that generally away somewhere, so at a manufacturer or distributor or an integrator. So then we do that with cameras. Obviously, you're in Yorkshire, and I'm not driving to Yorkshire every 2 weeks to do a podcast with you.
No, it's a bit constrictive when you do it in person, and it's better to do it in person. And me and Aaron did do a few in person. We did some at breweries, we did some at pubs. We recorded a couple at YCB as well, which was great. But again, it was just the time, the time to get us both together, to travel, and especially when it's a beer podcast, you can't really drink and try the thing because one of you had to drive and blah blah blah. So, like you say, there are restrictions to do it in person. We had a proper little setup to record it and tried to do a bit of video as well. But it just, like you say, life takes over, sadly. And as nice as these things are to do these things on the side, then fundamentally they're not important, are they? It's they have to be parts if needs be. But it's just nice to even just talk nonsense to somebody, even virtually. We always did this virtually because I think I'm still the outlier. I think the northern. I think you guys are predominantly all down south. I think Manny he's Gloucester, Cheltenham way, so he's kind of a bit further north, but still no one quite as far as me up in Leeds. So it was always virtual, which it still serves a purpose. But yeah, it's just nice to get together, innit?
I think James is up your way, isn't he? I mean, I say up your way. Literally, if I go that way about 20 minutes, I'm in the English Channel. But James is wherever Rare is. I can't remember where Rare is. But
I don't think he's this way. I don't think so.
Anywhere north of the M25 is like north to me.
Yeah.
No, I went up to Edinburgh last year for a trade show.
That's a lot further than me still. Yeah, that's proper north. That's really, really north.
And I said to one of the guys there, Stuart, from a company called Limitless Automation. I said to him, "So is this it?" And he's like, "What?" I said, "Is Edinburgh as far north as it goes?" He said, "Oh no." He said, "There's a shirtload more beyond this."
Oh yeah,
Like,
go up to like Inverness and Tongue and all that. Yeah, oh that's the real wild west up there. You know, that's proper out in the sticks sort of thing. And we've been up to Isle of Skye before, and it's lovely because you're literally in the middle of nowhere,
yeah,
but you are in the middle of nowhere. And I think from here to the Isle of Skye, about 11 hours drive or something. Yeah, it's a tough slog, but it's worth it. But yeah, yeah, it's great up here. It's cheaper. It's a lot cheaper up here. So yeah, it's a lot better. It's a lot better.
good, good tea as well.
Yeah, well, I don't drink it, but everyone says Yorkshire tea is the best one. So I just, because I'm from here, I just say, yeah, of course it is.
Of
We
course, it
we know
is.
tea. Yeah, we know tea.
This is a gaming podcast, so let's might as well get onto some
Yeah, let's get
gaming.
on some gaming. Yeah, yeah,
What have you been playing recently, or what have you? I mean, so obviously we've had 6 years of gaming.
yeah. Mm.
I can't remember a lot of stuff I played 6 years, apart from one game that was fundamental. But what have you sort of like been dipping into lately?
Well, I mean, ironically, I haven't played it a lot, but should we? I mean, the one big topic I guess we can get out of the way, sort of the elephant in the room almost, is Fortnite. You know, because love it or hate it, you know, I think probably way back when, if you delved into the archives of the old shows, I probably mocked Fortnite. You know, I was probably a big hater of it, and I was like, don't get it, never play it, I don't get the hype about it, I'll never touch it, blah, blah, blah. And then during lockdown, honestly, that was fundamental for us in terms of because Anna works from home and she did all the way through COVID. She did it before it was cool. You know, she already had a home working job. So she was in the house. I went to the shop and came back. And then after that, this was pre kids. We just had nothing else to do like everybody else. So my nephew, he played. I got into it. One of our friends, mutual friends, Mark, he got into it. Then Anna got into it. My brother got into it. One of our friends, Oliver, got into it. So, you know, so we had a whole group of people that it just became a thing when you're getting on. When you get on, it wasn't even are you, it was when are you getting on because everyone just finished work and logged straight into Fortnite. And that was the way that we socialised. You know, you could
Right.
play, I can't remember if you could play squads at that point. It was either trios or squads. But so then sometimes I'd be on, but Anna would be in the background. Then at one point I was upstairs, Anna was downstairs. Even we'd play duos together. You know, it was just our way of talking to other people. It was an unforced way of socialising beyond having a forced video call or a Zoom chat or what have you. So, and it became a massive part of our life through COVID, and then it kind of just stuck. And like I say, I probably stopped playing it recently maybe about December time, around Christmas. And I haven't played it recently. And I really need to get back into it because I've just been playing other things, I think, and just kind of just when you lose that social element of it, when you play it solo, it doesn't quite have the same pull. I don't think, you know. And I think it's because we did it as such a social thing. When I just played on my own, it was just like it doesn't really have the same hook. But I know that you've been playing it a lot recently because we've had chats about it. And besides, I've actually really jumped on and played it together. But I know you've been
Mm.
doing it a lot recently. But for a game that I like, say, heavily criticised, I think at one point, like a complete reversal, and it got us through. You know, it really did get us through.
I think for me, like I only jumped on it because Game Pass.
Yeah, yeah,
You know, I've never really jumped on it, and then I think the Game Pass happened, the changes happened, or the changes that are coming out with the revised pricing and things like that. And one of obviously the part of it was Fortnite Crew, and
yep,
because I can honestly admit because you know I have been so busy over the last 6 years with family life, with work, you know, running the businesses and things like that. I just found myself not unless it was a maybe an Assassin's Creed, or even though the last Assassin's Creed I wasn't a big fan of, but I wasn't really doing the sort of like 2, 3, 4 hour gaming sessions that I was
yeah,
doing. I stopped drinking 2.5 years ago, so you know I'm now in bed at 9:30 at night and actually do most of my gaming at like 4:30 in the morning. But I think because when it came out and it says now included in Game Pass when you turned on the Xbox, I thought, oh, let's have a play. And of course, I went into it straight away, go to the furthest point on the map where no one else is around. And then I just sort of found that I was just chipping away at it. And I think it was the Simpsons map, because I've always been
Yeah,
a
yeah.
massive Simpsons fan. So I'm like, oh, I've got to play that even just to unlock, Homer or buy Homer, but you had to unlock him. So, and for me, yeah, I mean, I used to play Halo Infinite, I've played Battlefield, I've played COD, and I think that I don't have the time to really get into those enough to be good at it. I mean, I went into the latest Battlefield and literally like spawned, died, and I just found myself with Fortnite, especially with the Simpsons pack. I just found myself just sort of going grinding, really,
Mm.
but doing it like, playing 20-minute game before I left to go to work, or play a 20-minute game when I came home from work, and that's what I sort of found really good. Um, I did pretty much unlock everything in the Simpsons one, and then the current one. I've just got my latest battle royale just a minute ago. Whilst I was just sort of waiting for the dinner to warm up before we had dinner before coming on with you. But I mean, I think I'm level 161 now. And that's just playing it, but it's playing it along the lines of just like 20 minutes here, a game here, a game there, maybe 2 or 3 games. I've run out of everything really to do in the battle pass, so I jumped into Reload, which is
Mm.
nuts. Have you played Reload?
Now, is that the one where you respawn?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I haven't, to be honest with you. No, but this part of the thing that I want to say about Fortnite is it's become such a big thing, though, hasn't it? There's so many different modes now, and there's so many collaborations. Like on my feed on Facebook and Instagram, you say, "Oh, rumors about there's going to be this collaboration, there's going to be that collaboration, da da da," and then there's the crossovers, and then there's the reload mode, like you say, and the OG mode that goes
Hmm.
back to old map modes and things. And obviously, there's a Lego bit, there's the Rocket League bit, there's the music bit. It's its own ecosystem now. It's almost like that COD universe, isn't it? That COD's got its own universe and things. Fortnite's got its own universe now. And
What do you mean? Do you mean the COD universe where I can't find the start button
yeah.
for
So what
mod?
do I do? What
It's
do I
like I
do?
put on the group on Saturday. How do you start? Modern Warfare or 7 or whatever the latest one is. It's like I went in
Mm,
to play it because I had not played it because I just hadn't got round to it. And it's like every time I was playing it, I think I'm going into a multiplayer game, and I think it
mm.
was Anthony said, "No, you do think you're going into a multiplayer game, but you're not." By that point, I downloaded it and reloaded it so many times. I'm like, "I saw this. I can't be bothered. No
Yeah,
one's raving about it,
it's
so I'm
too
not playing it."
complicated. Yeah. It is, and it's like it is its own little world now. And these, like you say, the Simpsons world. It was a short season for that, but there's so many great collaborations that you see that come out, and then, oh, I've got to go back in now. I've got to do that, and that's the way that they get you. And it's a really clever business plan that they've done, and it must be, with the battle pass thing is great, with the um Game Pass, because obviously the price was going up. 'Cause is it 24, 25 quid now a month here in the UK? Something like that,
No,
24.99,
UK's 22.99.
22.99. Yeah, but obviously Fortnite Crew were a tenner. So
Mm.
if you're a regular Fortnite player or become one, well, Game Pass suddenly, when you justify it, becomes 12.99. So it's like, well, actually, if I get the money out of the Battle Pass and my V Bucks and things, well, Game Pass is really good value, and it is. That's one of the things that we're going to come on shortly, is that how good Game Pass has got. And like you say, with time and things and not being able to get into longer games, I'm the same. There's loads of games out there that I want to get into. I haven't got the time. What my shifts, I work 2 while 11 every day. I have Wednesdays and Saturdays off, but that time during the day before work is spent with Anna and Oscar while she's on mat leave. When she's back at work and the kids are in nursery and school, then yeah, I'll be able to sink 2, 3, 4 hours into a game before I start. But a lot of my gaming now is on the cloud, which I can do because I'm a Game Pass Ultimate member. I can play it on my phone, I can play it on the iPad, I can just cloud stream on the Xbox, and Fortnite plays into that you can play it on the cloud. And like you said, it's jump in, jump out. I've got half an hour, I'll jump in, I'll do my daily quests, I'll play a couple of rounds, what have you. That's it, you're done. And you've ticked that box. Do you know what I mean? And some people do play it for hours and hours and hours. But if you just want to get your little fix on a morning or afternoon or evening, whatever it is, you can do that, and it's perfect. And again, because of the cloud, again, it allows that to be pretty much wherever you want it to happen. It doesn't have to be on the console. And I think Microsoft has nailed the cloud gaming after so many years of obviously it's going to be a thing, it's going to be a thing. It really is now, because it pretty much for me is seamless. I can jump on and it is, 99% of the time it's bulletproof, and you wouldn't know that you're not playing it on a console.
Yeah, I mean, I bought a ROG Xbox, ROG Ally X, or whatever it's called
Very,
recently.
very, very jealous of.
Yeah, I mean, it was a complete like. It was almost an Anthony, where Anthony just sort of found one and bought it, and I've been like, I've had a Steam Deck, I've had the original ROG Ally, and I'm just like, I don't need it, and I don't use a handheld. And then I saw it came up at my arch nemesis Curry's, and I'm like, I really don't want to buy it from Curry's, but it's like, I'm like, okay, if I buy it, I'll go and pick it up, because during our 6-year break about 3 years ago, I ordered a Meta Quest, the latest one, not the S. I can't figure. Oh yeah, it's the S, and it never turned up. Ordered it for Christmas last minute. It's a bit of a family present for Christmas. Never turned up, so I had to go to Argos and buy one, like click and collect, to get it for Christmas. And then it took them 4 months, I think it was, to acknowledge that I hadn't received it. Then I went to say to them, look, I don't want it, because like I already bought one 4 months ago, and they're like, oh no, it's outside 30 days, you can't return it now. So I was always
30
like,
days of never receiving it.
yeah, it's like my Ring doorbell shows a guy bringing my DPD driver, who we know really well, Claude. He had the pillbox in his hand, and I'm like, there's no way that is, what was it, the pillbox, the band, and the Meta. And I'm like, oh no. And he's like, oh, it might come in a different wagon, because it normally does, but he didn't. So I really didn't want to buy it from there. And I have tried Fortnite on it, and as you can see probably now, I wear glasses only for reading and whatnot. But I played Fortnite on the ROG like the day I got it, and I got pretty far in it. But going between a 77-inch OLED on my wall and this like, even with my glasses on, I'm like, you can see people in the distance on a big screen TV.
That's the only drawback. It is, like say, but even on an iPad, it's not even if you're on an iPad Pro and you had a bigger one, it doesn't compare. I think our TV is 55 in the living room, so again, being able to see further in the distance and things, yeah, you are struggling. But yeah, I'm very, very jealous of that. I mean, I've been pining over a Switch 2 forevermore, and I'm like, I don't need it because I won't play it. It's just the fact that it's new and it's shiny, and there's so many games from the previous Switch that I could play on it, and I'm like, oh, it's great for me from working from home that I can play it. It's handheld while I'm at work. It's great, and which is why I play a lot on the iPad and things, is that I can do it at my desk, between calls. I should hasten to add, in case someone from work ends up listening to this podcast somewhere along the line. But yeah, it's I mean, that looks like a great piece of kit. Ever since they touted it, because I've still got my PS Portal. I've still got it, and it's just sat there, and I don't use it because my experience with it has been very, very mixed. It's a great piece of kit. I love it. I think as a piece of tech, I think it's fantastic. It feels great. It looks great. In theory, it's great, but at least with the ROG is that you get, it's a standalone piece of kit in it. It's like the Steam Deck. You can locally play it. You can download things to it. You don't have to cloud stream. Whereas the problem with the Portal is that the Portal has to connect to the PS5 and obviously and multiple different connections. But the cloud gaming, the Xbox, the console's not involved. Microsoft have cut the middleman out. It literally goes from the iPad to the cloud and back. There's no middleman in between. And I think that's the thing that the Portal is missing. You can't just go direct. Well, you can now. Sorry, I mean, if you got the the biggest PlayStation Plus membership. But again, the catalogue on that is just nowhere near the Game Pass catalogue. Microsoft has got such a compendium of games on there that it's like, well, unless you're the most die-hard of Sony fans, I think, why would you jump onto PS Plus? And my PS5's not been switched on for ages, and it's almost, I look at it and I think you've been the same. It's like, do I get rid of it?
Yeah.
Do I sell that? Do I sell the Portal? Do I put that towards the Switch 2, the ROG, do I just bank it as cash or credit for computer exchange or something? Maybe, I don't know. Um, I'll just keep it in the vain hope that, there'll be a Sony exclusive that comes that I must play and have. I just don't really see it happening, and I think I'm just not getting rid of it because Anna bought me it as a 30th birthday present when they were in short demand. It came up on Amazon. She bought me it, um, when it just popped up in stock randomly, and I feel a bit attached to it. And she said, "Look, I don't mind if you sell it," and I'm just like, I just feel a bit harsh, maybe. But yeah, the portal definitely. I'd get rid of the portal because it's not going anywhere. It's not being used.
If you've not got something you're playing, I mean, I'm really sort of like delving into. I think Anthony said about is it 20 years of Forza on Forza Motorsport. There's a 20 years of Forza Motorsport sort of thing. So actually, I think we were all, the whole family were in the lounge like the other weekend. The girls were watching something. I was sitting over on the other sofa, and I actually just pulled out the Ally and just started playing Forza Motorsport.
Yeah.
And because of the other podcast, I've been invited to places. So recently I was in Barcelona. Last year I went out to Belgium and out to Amsterdam. So I'm finding that in a few weeks I think I'm coming up to Manchester. So it's like, well, look, I'll take it with me because then I can, sit in a hotel room. I can have a game on this, and I can do my Fortnite dailies. Make sure I don't miss me XP. And there are certain things like I can't remember the name of the game now. I've not put it on here because I've not started playing it. But there's like a little Metroidvania game on there that I'm like, oh, actually, that would work really well on it. A little bit like the Switch. I mean, I had a Switch too, and I got rid of it because it's almost like I'm not using it. It was just coming up to Christmas, and I thought I could sell it. I'm not going to use it. I'm only going to keep this to play Mario on probably. And it's a bit like the PS for me as well. I played a few games on it, but that is my exclusive machine. The Xbox, my daily, that's my exclusive machine.
Yeah, and that's great, but again, I might get shut down. But again, there are PlayStation exclusives, but there never seem to be that many that come out or enough to almost justify it at the minute. Do you know what I mean? And you could probably say the same for Xbox, and if the PlayStation catalog was better of the PlayStation Plus, you could quite easily say you just jump ship and have the subscription there. But like I say, with the ROG, the Ally, at least you can. It's almost perfect for those Game Pass games, like those what used to be Xbox Arcade and indie games. Download them, stick them on there, play it while you're on the train, while you're in a hotel room, on a flight, whatever it might be. You can do that. It's got the inbuilt hard drive to do that, and it's perfect. And I think for me is that the one thing that's holding me back from buying it is obviously got the lesser one, the more expensive one. And I think if you're going to do it, you're going to get the more expensive one, aren't you?
Yeah.
If you're going to do it, go the whole hog. And what is it, 750, 800 quid?
$7.99, yeah.
Yeah.
Plus the case is 50 quid, so you're looking at the best part of 850, which I know our American friends are going to be listening to this going, it's $1,000 in America just for the console. So we are fortunate, but yeah, it's still way over what an Xbox and a PlayStation cost you.
Yeah, that's it, and you can understand why. You mean, you look at the cost of an iPhone. Every time an iPhone comes out, it's £1,000 plus if you buy it brand spanking new. The smaller technology is generally speaking more expensive, isn't it? So it's understandable, but I just can't afford 800 quid. Like I said, just got a newborn or what have you. It's just like, it's a lot of money. It's a big commitment for something that might or might not get used, which is why the Switch 2, granted, it's still 370 quid, but it's half the price, so it's a bit less of a gamble, and Nintendo products notoriously hold the value. So if you just wanted to get shut of it, you'd probably get most of your money back anyway. So I'd love one. I really, really, really would love one. But for now, like the iPad, I was playing it last night. I was playing High on Life 2 last night on the iPad. The whole compendium and things like I had. We said about games, and we put like different ones, and I've just put vaguely Game Pass games, because I've just been flicking through Game Pass. I went through the Halo back catalogue. I did the Master Chief Collection. I did Halo 5. I did Halo Infinite. I did all that. Recently, I've dabbled in the Ubisoft catalogue. The Ghost Recons, that sort of thing.
Because that's another benefit with is the fact that you get Ubisoft Plus Lite or whatever it is as part of Game Pass. So you could jump into those as well. But I'm the same. I will play quite. I suppose I will play quite a lot of Game Pass games because I actually like playing stuff that I'm like. There's a great little feature on Game Pass where it goes, "This is what you might like." It's a bit
Mm.
like Netflix and Disney when you've
Yeah,
watched
yeah.
something. And I think what's good for me is it's thrown up some really cool little games. Just like there was one, I can't think what it was called now, but it was one where I was a robot that made sushi. It's probably called Sushi Robot or something like that. But it just literally, for something that I could just jump into for sort of like half an hour, it was really cool. And
Yeah.
and there's been a few cases where, like, I bought the. I mean, for anybody who's listened to this before, they know that I'm a big Far Cry fan. I'm a big Assassin's Creed fan. Was a big Ubisoft fan. But like, I bought the last Assassin's Creed, and I think you said the same when you played it. It just didn't get me. It was
Mm.
like, it was in Japan. It was everything that everybody had been shouting for, but the story just didn't get me. I loved Valhalla. That was brilliant. I loved the one that was set in the Middle East. Can't think what it was called now. But that was good. And I went back at Christmas time and played the free DLC for it, like 2-3 years later when it came out. But for me, Game Pass is just, I mean, I'm lucky I get it as part of my mobile phone contract. EE is one of my perks.
Mm.
So I was getting TNT Sport, and I'm like, do you know what? I really don't sit down and watch football. I'd rather watch Match of the Day. So I get it as part of that at the moment because they still say it's $15.99. But that's what I do because it's like that way I find something that I like, I find something that I enjoy, and I find some new stuff to play.
Yeah, that's it. And like you say, there's just all these little things. It goes by, you can obviously do the whole search category, what's new, even the stuff that what's leaving. There's a category saying
Yeah.
what, like, again, same with Netflix, what's going in next few days, because, I'll play that before it goes. It's just that whole thing. It is a very good little ecosystem that they've got going on. It is great. Um, so yeah, I mean, it sounds like we're just loving Xbox and bashing PlayStation, but it's not like that. They've just got one up over Sony in that way, and I think it's just because obviously Microsoft is such a tech giant and obviously got Windows and all the whole powerhouse behind it that can power it. I think that's part of the reason why. And obviously we've got things to talk about later in the pod about Microsoft and the future of Xbox, but for now, it does seem like they've got, albeit not necessarily they've not won the console war, shall we say? Sony sold more PlayStations and Xbox sold Xboxes, but the thing that feeds it, the whole, the games, the ecosystem, the Game Pass, I think Xbox has got that, whereas Sony sort of won with the console, with the PS5. So it's, if you blended the two, if you mashed the two together, you'd almost have the perfect box. It would, like everyone says, they should just unite and join forces, and you would have the perfect console.
Well, you may see that because I mean, you can't argue the fact of, like, my daughter's got a Series S on the wall, literally in the room behind me. She
Mm.
plays it to play Fall Guys and Stumble Guys or whatever it is. And I said to her, "Do you want me to put my Game Pass subscription on it for you?" And she's like, "No, I like just playing this. And I like playing that." And then I've got Molly's cousin Riley. He's a PC gamer, and I think Phil. Ex CEO Phil, said, I think he said it right, which was like they lost the most important generation, Xbox.
Mm.
And this, if you go back and listen to this podcast, from 6 years ago, I mean, I looked at some of the episodes going back 10 years. We've always been a podcast which is like, we talk about Nintendo, we talk about Sony, we talk about Xbox, but, I think all of us were mainly players of Xbox. And Game Pass is just something that, like you say, if you're not always at your desk or in your lounge, you can just take it with you and play it on your iPad or play it on your ROG, or I've had it playing on my MacBook sometimes when I've been in a
Yeah, yeah.
hotel.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, my laptop that we're recording on that I use for work, it's an Asus, so also it's the same brand as obviously the ROG. It's got Game Pass and Microsoft built functionality built into it via the cloud. So I've got a dedicated Xbox button on the bottom of the screen, and I've played it there. I've done the same. I've hooked to, I've got a third party controller that I hook up to it. But apart from that, again, it's great. I could just take that on holiday wherever, blah blah blah. And albeit it's a laptop, it's not a handheld, but it's still convenient. It's still a convenient way of playing if you want to do so while you're traveling or whatever. So, yeah, it really is. It really is great what they've done. I think, and it's
Touching on the Switch briefly, when we're looking at games, I looked at sort of like what was my biggest game, like with Fortnite for you. What was my biggest game of like COVID? You know, what would I say? I mean, I've played a lot of games since we stopped podding 6 years ago, and I sort of looked at it and thought, well, okay, what game out of all the games that I have played would I say was something that I remember and look back fondly? And for me, it was Animal Crossing. Now, I can remember being on a podcast with Chesson, and maybe even James, and I remember saying, it doesn't interest me. I've got no interest in it whatsoever. I'm not going to play it, blah, blah, blah. And I was like,
sounds familiar, doesn't it? It sounds
yeah.
familiar.
and then I think, what was it? Molly would have been 10. So she had a Switch Lite, and I bought her a copy of it because obviously I was still working through COVID. I was just working in cinema rooms on my own. It was bliss. Loved it. Didn't see anybody all day. I was working like 4 o'clock in the evening until 10 o'clock at night because I was trying to avoid the other trades. But it was like I was building this cinema in East Sussex, and it was this massive. If you go on YouTube and go on immersive cinema rooms, you'll see it's a snooker room, and it was something like 14 meters long by about 7 meters wide. This room, and I had a coffee machine down there. I had my radio down there. We had internet down there, and I was building this guy's cinema. But because me and Molly were playing Animal Crossing at home, and we were like visiting each other's islands, we had as the Sparks, we had a group, and you had James on there, you had Anthony on there, you had some friends of the show on there. And for anybody who doesn't know Animal Crossing, you would sell your turnips every day or every night. And it was literally like I would get a message on the WhatsApp group from like Anthony going like, my turnips are what? You weren't selling
price,
just turnip price, wasn't it? Yeah. My turnip price was whatever. And like I would text Molly because I would text Molly or text Kate to say to Molly like, tell Molly to come to this island and sell her turnips. And and it was funny because like I paid her mortgage off for her on her house, and I'm like, don't expect that to happen in real life. Hopefully you'll get famous and pay my mortgage off. But for me, for a game that I was never going to play, it just, and I think it's the same for a lot of people, and why Animal Crossing the Switch was so popular during COVID. For me, it was just like, it gave me some really cool times with my daughter. And it was just fun because, like Fortnite, as like you were saying, you were just socializing, you were chatting to people, you're all focused around this one thing whilst the world was going to pot.
Yeah, that's it. And it becomes a thing, doesn't it? Like you say, you have these little groups that you set on WhatsApp or what have you, and you drop in messages to each other, and it becomes its own little thing, doesn't it? And I think it's obviously it's a lot more relaxed is Animal Crossing than Fortnite. But again, it just becomes that little routine, doesn't it? That you just log on, you do your thing, you go harvest your turnips, you turn your turnips in, you go, tend to whatever crops or whatever you need to do. And I mean, I can't remember how long ago it will have been now. I did dip into an Animal Crossing at one point, whether that was the Switch version or maybe a 3DS version or something. It's not my cup of tea. I appreciate the premise. I fully appreciate the premise of what you do, and it is just maybe a little bit older and wiser me now would like that experience of just being a bit more chilled, a bit more relaxed of, let me just go do my jobs. Let me just jump in, go do what I need to do, log in, log out, and that's it. Stress-free, no nonsense apart from stressing about your turnip prices, but yeah, because is it the last one where like they basically mortgaged you, like it was almost like real life. You got the house and you had to pay your mortgage off and blah blah blah. It's like
you went
this
to
is
an
my second
island.
life. Yeah, I only have to pay my mortgage off now.
You went to your island. They gave you a tent, or they gave you a tent, and you start off in a tent, and then you grew and grew and grew. For me, it got to the point where I think they introduced terraforming, where you could physically change your island. So when I sort of got to the pinnacle, I suppose it's a little bit like with Fortnite now for me, I've almost got to unlocking everything that I've got time to unlock. So I'm quite looking forward for the next season to land. I think it's the 18th of March.
It's this month at some point, isn't it? Yeah.
So I'm quite looking forward to that, because Animal Crossing, I just got to that limit where I was like, do you know what? I'd really not bothered in playing anymore. But yeah, no, really, really enjoyed it. and for me, that was my sort of game of like, the last 6 years, along with lots of others. But that's the one that sort of has a place in my heart. What else you been playing? You been playing anything else?
Yeah, so obviously there's the menagerie of different things on Game Pass, but the other thing that I haven't played it enough criminally really, and it's ironic because I was really looking forward to it, is Borderlands 4,
Right.
which it sat in the disc is sat in the console, and because I get very little time to play actually on the console on the TV, it has sat in there. I rent most of my physical games from Boomerang, so I've not actually bought it, but I have a subscription where I rent them every month. Um, and I think it should be cloud compatible. I did see somewhere, when you can play your own game, basically, if you buy it or download it, you can play it in the cloud. And I'm sure I've seen that somewhere that Borderlands 4 is compatible, but every time I've tried it, it's not worked. So I've not, admittedly, I haven't gone back to it. But yeah, I love the Borderlands universe. I've jumped in the first one when it first ever came out, and it's just grown and grown and grown from there. And I do love it. Again, it's almost that mindless game that you kind of know the story. The main characters change every game, but fundamentally, you're a vault hunter. You're on a planet. You go and try and get all this loot. It's just basically a run and gun shooter. And it has got a theme and a story about it, and it's got the memorable characters, like it's got Claptrap in it and things, which Claptrap is still one of my sort of favourite characters out of any game universe that's come out in recent years. But yeah, it's almost that one that you don't need to listen and pay attention to. You could listen to a podcast, you could have it on mute or quiet if you had the kids around, what have you. But yeah, that's one that I've sunk some hours into it, but I do need to go back. But again, I think it's because of the nature of Borderlands. It could take 80, 90, 100 hours
Yeah.
to play it, complete it. Even just running through the story on its own could be a 20, 30 hour slog, which it'd be a fun 20, 30, 40 hours, but it's just having that time to dedicate to it. So it might be one that just sort of goes on the back burner. So I've got that bit more time when the kids are at nursery and school and so on and so forth. But I love it. It's just, it looks great. That sort of cell shady sort of artwork style that they've got. It's a bit sort of cartoon-esque, which is what it's become, almost famous for. It's stayed that way since it first came out. It's got RPG elements of upgrading, leveling up, different skills, different perks, but the millions or billions or gazillions of weapons that you can have different varieties of. Yeah, I just love it. It's just a series that I've got on with from the start. It's grown, it's got better over time. You could maybe say it's a bit more of the same, than of Borderlands 3. It's a bit repetitive maybe, but I don't think that's necessarily criticism. They've got a formula, they've got a style that works. And it just carries on to Borderlands 4, and I think there's nothing wrong with that.
No, I mean, I keep on. I mean, you mentioned it earlier. I mean to jump back into is it Hard Life, isn't it? Hard Life 2.
Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's I got that ready to download, and then we're gonna touch on it in the news. But you've got Planet of Lana 2 comes out. That was a big game for me in the last 6 years.
Hmm.
I may actually play that on the ROG, but I think that I just think that things like Hard Life, I look at it, I want to play it, but I'm like, at the moment, I just haven't got time because,
Yeah.
with juggling work at the moment, I'm pretty much doing things 7 days a week. And now I've added another podcast for me to edit into that mix as
Something
well.
else to do.
Yeah. But even my wife turned around to me and went, seriously, another. I mean, I've literally this afternoon been sitting editing a podcast with the guys, Steinway Lindorf, and which is a very funny podcast. And then it's like, so some second, so you're editing a podcast this afternoon, and then you're going to go on Riverside tonight and do a podcast with Steve. I went, yeah, I know, I'm just a glutton for punishment. And then I'm
Yeah,
back on
yeah.
site tomorrow building the cinema. So yeah, I mean, I think there's lots of stuff we've been playing. I think we're wrapping up there for the playing side of it. I'm going to try and jump into a few more bits and pieces, but I know when the new season of Fortnite comes out, I'm going to be jumping into that and playing that as well. And hopefully, I mean, I literally where I'm sitting now is I started obviously do a lot of editing now, video editing. So in front of me, I've got one screen, above me, I've got the other screen, and underneath there, I've got a Mac Studio and an Xbox. So I have an Xbox downstairs and an Xbox upstairs. So and then I mean up here on the side, I've got my Xbox headphones. So we'll have to do some duos at some point.
Yeah, definitely. We'll find some time, mate. We'll make it happen. We'll make it happen.
So before we get onto the news section, if you like this podcast, I know we're a new podcast that's done 177 episodes, but some of you may not have seen this podcast before. Please go back and watch gaming news from 6 years ago back. We had some great conversations, the 4 or 5 of us. But if you're watching this, listening to this, please rate and review the podcast on Apple Podcasts. It really helps the channel. And also, we are going to be on YouTube now, on the same YouTube channel. So leave a comment on this video if you're watching this on YouTube, or you used to listen to us on audio and you're now watching it as video and you can see our ugly mugs. Leave a comment, tell us what you've been up to, what you've been playing. We may well open up the bench to a few people, so if there's anybody watching this who is new or old who wants to come on and guest with us, then reach out. We have an email of it's hello@gamersoftheLostSpark.com. I'll put it in the show notes, but reach out if you want to come on and be a guest host with the two of us, or fill in for one of us when we're not here or something. So getting on to the news, we've got some big news, a little bit of PlayStation, but mainly Xbox, with the Xbox CEO saying, the new CEO saying, we will be delivering great games. Starfield looks like it's eventually coming to PS5, and there are reports around that GTA 6 has been added to the PlayStation database. So first news story is with yourself, a very jolly one, which says goodbye Xbox.
Yeah, for everything that we just said about how great and rosy things are in the world of Xbox. Obviously, recently, it was kind of a bit of a shock announcement, really, wasn't it? That I think I screenshotted it and put it in
up, yeah.
our little chat. Is that Phil Spencer was retiring, which kind of just like blindsided everybody. And the more that came out, it kind of seemed like this might have been something that was maybe in the pipeline some time. But albeit when the news came out, it was quite. It's quite shocking, because everything seemed to be building quite nicely, and everything, the advancements of Game Pass and the ROG and so on and so forth. There seemed to be, building something nice. But ever since that's happened, when they've brought new CEOs and new personnel in, there's a lot of speculation, obviously, as there is with these sort of things, but that almost the Xbox might be being what they call sunsetted, as in, it's almost sort of coming to an end, which is quite concerning in some respects. It's quite a weird thing to think that Xbox could be being shown out of the door, which, as we know, notoriously, Xbox doesn't earn Microsoft money. It costs them a lot of money. It's not their money spinner, as it were. But there's a lot of suggestions that these people have been put in place to sort of help bring in the world of AI, which I think kind of comes into your news story, which we'll go on to next. These two kind of going hand in hand, really, is that obviously AI is becoming this big, all-encompassing thing, that companies are accepting it and adopting it. It's everywhere. AI is pretty much, not intruding, maybe the wrong word, but, it's becoming an integral part of a lot of tech, software, graphic design, video editing, coding. It's everywhere is AI now, and people, we don't have a choice in some respects about it, I guess. But and it's quite sad that if this is the case, that Xbox has almost been shown out of the door. That if AI is going to replace a lot of people's jobs, a lot of departments. It'd be quite sad if AI becomes a thing that can create games. Because it might be able to create some great things. I've dabbled with AI that can create graphic design. It can come up with some good things. The one thing I'd say about it is quite soulless. It's quite clean. There's no human touch, there's no human element to it, and that's part of the creativity of video games and any industry, really. You could ask AI to write you a novel. It would write you a novel. It wouldn't necessarily have the nuances and the creativity that a human does, but it probably would write itself a perfectly serviceable and fine, book. But yeah, I think that's the concern with this, is that if AI becomes more and more a thing in the video game field, and I think there's a certain element of it that AI takes some of the background processing, it does some of the grunt work in the background, that could help, and that could be a good thing. albeit that they all online, always online sort of, functionality, like you said with COD earlier. That to do the campaign, you have to be online. You can't do it offline because part of the grunt work is done in the background. But yeah,
I think for me, with AI, I use AI quite a bit, but I use it I will write a blog, and if I need to compress it, I'll ask AI to compress it for me. Then I'll go in and reword it. And I heard something recently, with the term that everybody loves at the moment, AI slop. And I think a lot of people are sort of thinking, especially is when it comes to gaming, when it comes to life in general, I think that AI is that buzzy thing at the moment. I think it's something that everybody wants to use to save. I mean, I'm on a content creator group for my videography, and loads of people on there talk about AI and creating AI videos and shorts. And there is a real divide on whether people like it or not. For me, I think it's a very useful tool. I've just done a lot of SEO on the HCA Tech Talk website, and I've written the SEO, but I've told AI or asked AI to make it 140 to 150 characters because that's what Google likes.
Yeah.
I think for me with Xbox and that news that Phil was stepping aside, I don't think Phil was the shock for me. I think I was expecting him to go. I mean, he's obviously made a pretty penny. It was the fact of that Sarah Bond then left or resigned. And I think listening to some of the other podcasts like, IGN, like Kind of Funny, I think that some of the news that I've heard is that potentially she was overlooked for the position to replace Phil, where I think everybody would have thought that she was going to replace Phil. But then again, I am an Xbox fan, and I'm not quite sure how I feel about Xbox exclusives going on PlayStation. I'm not bothered about it personally. At the end of the day, they are called Microsoft. They are a software company. But I just think it will be a shame if they sunset the Xbox like the Sega sunset whatever their last console was after the Mega Drive.
Dreamcast?
Saturn. Dreamcast, yeah, and then it was just Nintendo, and then obviously PlayStation. So I think it will be, because I do like my Xbox console. I mean, hell, I got 2 of them. Usually have 3 when I'm at the office as well. But I think AI is going to be around, and I think AI will influence in some ways. But AI is not going to take away some of the humanity and the genius that developers out there, like James's colleagues at Rare, some of the stuff that they've created with Sea of Thieves is like, yeah, you could argue they could create the game, but AI doesn't yet think like a human.
No, it can't have these just mad out of the box ideas, can it? This will be funny, or it doesn't get humor. It doesn't get sarcasm, and wit and that sort of thing. So, and like you say, it's good, in certain instances, like we use it for work. I can get it to translate an email into or from French, German, Spanish, whatever I need. That's great. That's fantastic, because I can send an email and it'll be perfectly legible by the person. I can read their response. Brilliant, fantastic. But yeah, it's just like you say, the fact that Sarah Bond wasn't Phil's replacement, and Asha Sharma, who is from their core AI division, is the person that's replaced him. That says a lot. That says a lot of the future of where they want this to go. They've not brought someone in.
I think a lot of people have looked at it. Yeah, I think a lot of people have looked at the fact that she's come from AI and Meta, and gone, oh well, that's it, Xbox is going to AI. But segue into my story, she has gone on record to say that they are going to deliver games. We're in the 2026 is the 25th anniversary of Xbox, and Microsoft has a lot of games in the pipeline. Forza Horizon 6, which you can see around me, the new Fable game, which I cannot wait to play, the Halo reboot, and the Gears E-Day. And I think that there are, from what she's saying, that she wants to, a new broom sweeps clean. And no disrespect to Phil, no disrespect to Sarah, but I don't know, sometimes, a friend of mine brought someone into his business that wasn't, AV related and was business related, and actually who was really good for the business. So I can't help but think that, from what she's been very vocal on socials, and I think she's not been shying away from being involved with people. We know that there is potentially, well, we're almost certain that there's a new console coming out with a partnership with AMD, and and hopefully Microsoft are not like Google and just can it at the last minute. But if they do, they're still Microsoft. They will still make games. They still have really good studios. So I think you're just playing your your PS6 or your Steam machine if they can release it without it costing 2,000. And of course, that's the other thing at the moment is this the RAM prices, the memory prices. You just couldn't release a console at the moment. It's going to be stupidly expensive.
Yeah, that's it. That's all you can do is just give it, like I said, give her a fair crack of the whip. See what happens in the next 1 to 2 to 3 years. It's just like football, isn't it? You can't judge a new person on the short term, immediate future. It's not a results driven business like football is here. But you can't say, well, they've not done it in 6 months. It's like, well, of course they haven't. They've probably learned the that when she's not come from that sector. She got to learn it for a certain period of time. So you've got to give it bedding in, learning it, and then it's a long term 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 year plan, whatever it might be. We'll judge her after that period of time, not the initial 90 to 180 days when she's first joined. So it just be what'll happen, what'll happen. Like you say, a new console could be with us as soon as next year. So I guess that'll be a big judgment of, well, how does her first console launch go? Does it bring the Xbox of old back? Does it bring people back, or do they almost give Sony the win again? Or Steam Deck or whatever might come out at that point? Judge them by the results of what actually happens, not the potential of what might or might not happen at the moment.
Judge them by the games that they release. And it's the same with Sony. I mean, Sony have not particularly been very prevalent in first party recently, and I think that a lot of people have, say they are PlayStation because they jumped onto PlayStation, in the mid teens of 2013, 2014. So hopefully, we'll release the games with all these studios they got, and we'll go from there. Talking about games, your next story is on Game Pass games for March, and there's quite a few corkers in there, which I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, so we've got quite a bit of a selection of games that is coming out to Game Pass this month. So we've got seven games in total. So we've got a little bit of something for everyone, really. So we'll start from, so these are different ones that are coming to different ones. So I'll read them out as we've got. So coming to premium, we've got To a T, which looks like a little indie game. Coming to Ultimate, we've got F125, which obviously the Formula One season just about to start as we record. So that could draw in a lot of fans in. Yeah, as you alluded to, we've got Planet of Lana 2, which is coming out day one to Ultimate. So that's release launch on Cloud and Game Pass.
That's tomorrow as we record this. So
yeah, the 5th.
yeah,
Yeah,
so that may well be pre-downloaded onto the ROG, and then I might take that to work with me tomorrow.
yeah.
Shh,
So
don't tell the client.
yeah, yeah. So it'd be good if we well, I mean, both can play that and give it a whirl before we reconvene for the next show. So that'll be good. In what seems to be an endless stream of varying different simulator games, there's Construction Simulator, but I've seen all which again, this is the benefit of Game Pass. There's been Power Wash Simulator. There's obviously there's Euro Truck Simulator. There's Construction Simulator. I've seen there's a rock simulator that's been out on Steam, maybe, where you are just literally a rock or a pebble and you just sit in all weathers. Yeah, you literally can't do anything. You are literally a rock and it rains and it's sunny and it's you just sit there. But yeah, there seems to be a lot of simulation games out there at the moment. They seem to be making a big comeback. So yeah, there's Construction Simulator. I'd say the big one, probably the biggest title that's in that lot is Cyberpunk. Is coming in Ultimate and Premium. So that's quite a big hefty chunky game that's coming out from CD Projekt Red. You've got Hollow Knight Silk Song, which is coming out to Premium. That's on there as well. And then finally, I'm sorry, I've literally no idea what this one is. Cabby's Dollhouse Ready to Party, something for the little ones, and again, this is something that's great about Game Pass. There's been a couple of Paw Patrol games that has been on Game Pass, which Seb loves Paw Patrol, so we've dabbled in those. So again, going back to all the something for everybody, there is literally something for everybody there. Most genres and flavours are ticked really there, I guess.
Well, I mean, I'm looking forward to Planet of Lana. I have got Cyberpunk. I mean, obviously, Cyberpunk was, I think, had it come out? Because I remember we saw it at XO19 when when I was there with James and with Anthony. Actually, no, it wasn't XO19. It was the one earlier. We had an early preview of it, but I downloaded it, and then obviously they had the controversy with it. And I did jump into it maybe about 3 years ago, but that's something I've got to jump back into. Hollow Knight Silk Song. I think I played one of the earlier games of that. Um, so yeah, I mean, I might jump into that. At the end of the day, that's what's great about Game Pass is that you can jump into all of these. You know, you could play a bit of F1, you can play a bit of whatever you want. You know, because it is part of your subscription. So whether they are for you or not for you, I don't think you can be negative about them. Just jump in and play what you want, sort of thing.
Yeah, that's it. And you know it's going to be there until obviously it's going. So there is a list of games that are leaving on 15th of March as well. Which again, the good thing is that you can buy them and they give you a discount because I'm leaving. So that's a good thing. Is that obviously that's quite a clever bit of business. I think is that have a discount if you want to keep playing it. So I don't think there's really anything really that's notable that's leaving this month. I mean, there's F123, but you get an F125, so you've got a bit of an upgrade there. Enter the Gungeon, Here's Coming, Lightyear Frontier, Mythrept, Ambrosia Island, and Brat's Rhythm and Style. So there's nothing really that's, unless you're a serious fan of any of that, that's leaving. But yeah, I think that's quite a nice little mixture of games there, like you say. And again, it's something that you know is going to be there until it's gone. A nice little mixture of different things to try, especially on, like you say, on the ROG if you want to download it. But yeah, I think if we both make an agreement to play Planet Lana 2 before the next show, that'll be
Definitely.
quite a nice little thing to come back to and yeah, get into the nitty gritty of that.
I mean, I was playing. I can't think. I think it was Dead Space was part of it at one point, and I was playing the remake of Dead
Mm,
Space or the repolish of Dead Space,
yeah,
and I really enjoyed that. But I think that was one of those ones which I caught it right as it was going,
yeah,
and I did exactly that. It left. I didn't have time to finish it. I did a bit of a Google, and it says, "Oh, based on where you are, you've probably got about 4 or 5 hours left, or something like that." So I bought it and I played it and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think I actually bought it physically and then I ended up selling the disc for the same price that I bought it for. So that was really good. Yeah, I mean, I think you can't really go wrong with Game Pass. There's many ways to get Game Pass. If you're listening to this and you have it, or you don't have it, do check some of your service providers because, I have a contract with EE where I get to choose something for free. So for part of my mobile phone deal, which I think is something like £45 a month, I get £23 worth of Game Pass. I mean, that's a bit of a win-win for me.
yeah. It's like
So,
50% of your contract, isn't it? It's like why
yeah,
wouldn't you?
exactly. Yeah, and on to my next news story is about Starfield potentially or almost certainly coming to PlayStation. A post on Dead Labs by Bill Coon said Starfield will release on PS5 on the 7th of April and will indeed have a physical edition. The cost price for a standard edition is going to be estimated around about £45 or $50 for the standard edition, with the premium edition being around £60 or $70, with pre-orders expected on the 18th of March. The price is interesting though, as it's cheaper than Starfield on PC, Xbox, Series X and S, with a launch price for the standard edition currently is £60. Did you play Starfield at all?
I did, and I got a little bit into it, but I never really saw it through. And I don't know if that's because obviously Bethesda are known for obviously Skyrim and Fallout, and obviously I love both of those series respectively. Starfield kind of did a little bit of an in betweeny of that. Obviously, it had the same sort of elements. It had more of the shooting side of Fallout. It had a bit more of the RPG elements of Oblivion, Elder Scrolls, that sort of thing. And maybe I put about 10, 15 hours into it, and it was all right. And that's probably doing it a disservice, but I didn't click with it like I did with like Fallout and the Elder Scrolls series. So maybe it's because I've just so invested in that. I don't know. Maybe because I didn't get the chance to put so much time into it to obviously see more of it through. I don't know. I don't know. So I did play it. It's one of them things that I'd like to go back to, and do it a
Yeah,
service. Maybe, that it's been updated and things have been fixed and added to it, maybe. Because, Bethesda, they make good games, they make good universes, they do a good job. So, yeah, so I did, but not to the point where I'd like with Fallout, I'd go do Fallout 3 again, I'd go do Fallout 4 again. I've recently done the Oblivion remaster again. It's not pulled me like those games did.
Yeah, I mean, I played it when it came out, and I played it to completion. Or if you've listened to sort of like kind of funny, there is no real completion
Mm,
because you can go back and do it again and again and again. I didn't do that. I got to the point where the game is technically over. Um, and I enjoyed it. You know, I went in and did it. I went in and enjoyed it. It didn't set my world on fire, but it was a good experience. I did go back. I know Anthony got to a certain point in it and then got sort of save stopped. So it got to the point where he got stuck or something like that, I think he
yeah,
said, and he couldn't go back and in there. And I know exactly what he means because I went in to play the DLC, and I got to a point, started the DLC, went into it for about half an hour, and I got to a point where I was in a room and I had hardly any ammo and loads of people coming at me. And I tried about 3 or 4 times to basically stop it and go back, but I couldn't get back. I had to go back so far because of the old save. I was like, do you know what? I just don't want to go there again.
mm.
So that was the only thing I did find frustrating with that game on occasions was that it was, like going back to Fortnite. Sorry, Anthony, I know we're talking about a lot about Fortnite, but going back to Fortnite, you run out of ammo in Fortnite, you'll find some somewhere. It's everywhere. But I did find it frustrating sometimes in Starfield that the ammo was very limited. I enjoyed it, but yeah, I don't think I'll go back. And anybody watching this who's not played it, I definitely give it a go. I definitely pick it up and play it on PS5 because it was a really, really good game. Very Bethesda-y, very graphically Bethesda, pressed button to carry on talking. But I enjoyed it. It was an enjoyable game.
I think, if I remember right, I think it lost me at the travel point with the spaceship bit. I think it
Yeah,
lost me at that point. I'm like, I don't want to mess about with this. I just want to go from planet to planet or place to place. I don't want to mess about with the spaceship. I don't even want to fly it. I'm not that. I don't want to fly it. I'm not that bothered. It doesn't interest me. I just want to go and do my bit, shoot whatever, find whatever, do whatever. And I think it was at that point when I knew there was all this crafting, maybe this tinkering the spaceship, and I was like, no, no, I'm not a fan of that. I'm not a fan of that. So,
definitely a more role playing type of game.
mm,
You're going to have romantic relationships, so it was definitely more of a role playing game. But it was good. I enjoyed it, so definitely give it a go if you get the opportunity. So next story is with you. It's a bit of PlayStation.
yeah, yeah. So we're actually going to talk about a PlayStation, and I say not necessarily positively either, but again, a rumor about
The next story
PlayStation.
is
But
PlayStation as well, which is
yeah,
left
yeah.
until the
So
end.
yeah, that's it. We got there in the end. We got there in the end. So yeah, so as we a bit like the Xbox, as we're saying, they're spreading their first party titles around. Xbox games coming to PlayStation and such. Obviously, they come to PC, being Microsoft. PlayStation, obviously, or Sony have dabbled in their games coming to PC. Via Steam and other services. But what news article we found today from Eurogamer is that there's a rumor or the report potentially that Sony is reportedly abandoning its strategy to bring first party titles to PC, or at least reduce the amount or the number that are coming to PC, which I kind of get, I guess, because obviously there's a lot that goes into developing games for different consoles, for different channels, different services, that sort of thing. So obviously it does add, I guess, another layer of complication beyond it's just our game. It works on our infrastructure and our ecosystem. That's it. So it does make sense in some respects. So yeah, so there are games that are still coming. Um, to PC. So like Ghost of Yotei, that's coming. That's still coming to PC. So I think the ones that are in the pipeline are still going to happen, but maybe it's just not worth the the cost and the time, to bring it to PC. Because obviously a lot of them, like Xbox, it can come out on both at the same time. With Sony, that's very likely, probably impossible to happen. And why would they necessarily? They want to bring people into their ecosystem first. I guess the payoff's just not being there potentially, to what they might have expected it to be, and they've tried it and it's not maybe quite worked to what they expected it to be.
I think it's a bold move if they do, because I think we are very we are very much heading towards the ROG Ally. I've got Xbox, I've got Steam on there. I've got launchers on there that I can do. The new Xbox potentially is going to be not just Xbox, it's going to have other launchers on there. You've got the Steam machine as well, which, is going to be a Steam machine console, and there potentially will be way to put other launchers on there. I I can't help but be I can't help but think that Xbox's stance on putting games on PC is a good stance, from a business point of view. Yes, it's at the detriment of the exclusive, it's not on the console, etc., etc. And Sony, I think, are very much still about console first, because they don't have the PC background. I mean, I know Sony very well, and we've had conversations on this podcast before, like when the original PSVR came out, and I think Anthony was spitting bricks because it wouldn't pass 4K or something like that. And I'm like, you've never worked with Sony, obviously, because I know lots of people at Sony Weybridge, which is the Sony head office in the UK, and I know all the guys in the audiovisual side, the commercial displays. And I remember going to buy some cameras to do the other podcast with. And I remember speaking to Yadip from Sony Professional saying, could you introduce me to the camera department so I can get some cheap cameras? And this building's huge in Weybridge. And he went, I know where they are, but I don't know anybody in there. And that sums Sony up, unfortunately, is that
Mm.
every entity of Sony is different. Films are separate from TV, is separate from PlayStation, is separate from PSVR for a long time as well. So I can't I can't help but think it's the wrong choice if they do, because I can't help but see people going more PC based, having a daughter and friends that are in their teens. They're not console based. Even the kids are not, boys are not console based. They are very more PC. So I think that if they're not going to put Spider-Man, they're not going to put Wolverine, you're not going to put next God of War on PC. Yeah, they're going to sell more consoles, but we know that consoles don't make money. So yeah, I'm not sure if it's a good business sense, really.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like you said, it depends on the future of the company. And like you said, consoles notoriously don't make money. So is it important that it's not bringing them into the infrastructure, the ecosystem? Not necessarily. It just depends. Again, where's the future for PlayStation and Sony? Like again, with a little bit of the question mark of Microsoft is that they've got that ecosystem. So as long as they're playing the game, it doesn't matter where they're playing it. They can play it wherever they want. As long as they're in, they're in. So it depends on a Sony just doubling down on, well, no, it's our console. If you want our game, you play our console. That's PS6, 7, 8, whatever the future roadmap might be. Is it just a, right, no, you want it, you come get it. And we're
Yeah.
just sticking to that. And people have been doing it. Like we said earlier, that people have been buying PlayStations over Xboxes. Are they predicting that's going to be the same? Like, are they going to buck the trend of people going to PC? Are they just going to keep going to buy a PlayStation because they've always bought a PlayStation? And then it'll make it to the point where you will buy it because you are invested in it, and we will make it worth your while in some way, shape, or form, whatever that might be. You know, who knows? But maybe that's what they're going to do. It's like, say, just this is us. If you want it, come get it. If you don't, well, go get your game elsewhere. There's plenty of other options, but if you want us, you'll find us here, and that's where we'll be.
And I think, leading on to my next story about GTA 6, I think you will see Sony push and throw money at, that side of it. So, it's a bit up in the air where what's going to happen with GTA 6. It's in respects of, are Sony going to, drop a bag of cash and get it, not exclusive, but get maybe the advertising rights to it. So I've got a story here, which is GTA 6 reportedly added to PlayStation database, igniting pre-order speculation. X account PlayStation game size, which often reports on back-end information for games on PlayStation, posted that two IDs for GTA 6 have been added to the PlayStation database. Title IDs are unique code assigned to each game on PlayStation, and their appearance in the system will often be a precursor to pre-order sales. So, I mean, we're almost sure it's coming this year. I mean, what's it, November? I think it is.
Yeah, it's been pushed
Um,
way back though, hasn't it? Yeah.
yeah. So, I mean, it may well be that this is how PlayStation will try and keep people on the PS5 and onto the PS6. What's your take on GTA 6? Are you going to play it?
Oh, 100%. You know, it's without a shadow of a doubt, Grand Theft Auto is that jewel in the crown for the calendar, isn't it? It's the one of the few titles that you probably say without question, I will be getting it day one, wherever it is. I will be buying it. I will be playing it, and that is one of the few games out there now, apart from, you know, for me maybe like a new Fallout, a new Elder Scrolls, you know, that sort of thing. So yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, Sony and PlayStation had GTA. You know, they'd had it for a while until it first started going onto the Xbox. Probably San Andreas or Vice City, was Vice City on, or three. Three, it was three or Vice City when it transitioned. It started coming out on Xbox, wasn't it? So for a while, it was them. You know, they had Rockstar, and like we've seen with Microsoft now, with obviously Game Pass and things, they've bought Bethesda. They've got studios in house now. Is that, like you say, is that what Sony start doing? Do they start buying these? But and I don't think they would buy Rockstar exclusively. You know, I don't think it. You know, I think from a Rockstar perspective, I think that would be a bad business decision. You know, I think because obviously so many people probably do still play it on Xbox and online.
I don't think
Um,
they've got the money to buy it, to be honest.
no, no, that's what I mean. You know, it's you know, like I say, it's a big beast now. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
and obviously that if they bought Rockstar, then obviously have Red Dead Redemption and all the other bits and pieces that come along with it. So, you know, if they did secure the rights to say, well, we've got advertising rights, or even they can't even have some element of exclusivity that we've got it for the first however long, can they? Because they'd miss out on so much money. You know, they would miss out on so many sales for Xbox and PC or what have you if they had even a month or what have you of exclusivity. You know, they might do a get it a week early. You know, if you get it on PlayStation, you get it. You know, GT Online maybe not, but you can play the story early. Um,
I
but
think they're going to
that
push. I think they're going to push the PS5 Pro. I think that's going to be
yeah,
their angle. If they do have the advertising rights for it, they are going to play the looks better on
yeah, of
PS4 Pro
course,
type of thing,
yeah, yeah.
without a shadow of a doubt. To say PS4 Pro, not PS4 Pro, PS5 Pro.
Yeah.
Let's go back. So yeah, I mean, to be honest, you know what? I can't even remember if I played GTA 5. Pretty
I
sure I
I played
did.
it on pretty much every generation because it spanned three consoles, didn't it? It came out on
Yeah,
PS3 and 360. It came out on Xbox One and PS4, and then
you're
it got
right. Yeah.
another upgrade and revamp. So I've played it on every
I
single
think
version
I
that it's
think I
come
must
out.
have played it because I can remember playing GTA when we lived not a million miles away from here, and we've been living where we are now since 2011, and I'm pretty sure I've not played it here. So yeah, I mean, again, depending on what it comes out costing,
Mm.
I will, I will pick it up. I might even spend my Xbox reward points. You
Oh,
never know.
finally.
Finally, yeah. For anybody who's not what I mean, I'm actually getting a bit panicky now with all this stuff at Xbox and that. But
Yeah, they
anybody
might
who's
withdraw it
not,
all.
yeah, if anybody who's not ever watched this, years ago I was doing a podcast with one of the fellow Sparks, and I said, and it was just as they launched the Microsoft rewards, Bing rewards as you get now. And I said, you know what I'm going to do? And the next time Xbox release a console, I'm going to buy it with reward points. So whereby a lot of people will, save their 5,000 points or save their 25,000 points and get a 5, 10, 25 pound gift voucher. Uh, at this present day, I can tell you actually, hold on a second, let me bring my phone up.
Da, 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 da,
Um,
da. Drum roll, please.
because I'm going for a momentous. As at this point right now, I don't have 5,000 points. I don't have even 25,000 points. Don't even have 75,000 points. I've got 698,644. So that actually equates. I looked the other day. That actually equates to about £400 in Apple gift cards or Amazon gift cards, or it's a little bit more if you stick it still with Microsoft. I am a little bit worried that one, this console's going to cost a dirt load more than the 500 quid that it's probably worth. And I'm also worried that they're going to announce at any minute that they're going to stop the rewards. The only thing what's keeping me saving grace is the fact that they're Bing rewards as well. And
Mm.
I know a lot of people who are not Xbox people who do the Bing rewards. So yeah, so maybe I will cash in, well, probably half of that to
I'm
buy
gonna say
GTA
50%, innit?
6.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
probably.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So
I mean, it's some good going because I'm just checking. You can only earn £100,000 in a year. You know, so that
mhm.
just goes to show you how long you've been saving these points for.
Well, I mean, initially they used to do like buy Forza Horizon and they gave you 6 or 7 thousand. So
Mm.
you used to do that. They still do that a little bit. Um, but yeah, I mean, you're really like Bitcoin mining for them these days. Hey, look,
Yeah,
that's a very 2026 reference, isn't it?
yeah.
You're very Bitcoin mining them now. I will go downstairs in the morning. I will let the dog out. I would make my coffee, and I will sit there and do my Bing, and I will log into Xbox, and I will sit it on a game for 15 minutes, so I get my bits and pieces if I'm not playing. But as James would say, they've become my little friends now. They're almost like children that I don't want to sell. Along with my Xbox controllers. Anybody else who'd never watched this, I have had an obsession for a
Oh,
while with Xbox controllers, and even after COVID and during the podcast, I still like bought the Witcher one, I bought the Doom Eternal one, but downstairs in the lounge, I have all my Xbox controllers in boxes, and I am toying with the idea of selling some of them. Um,
it's
my
some
problem is,
collection. It is some
yeah,
collection.
I mean, there's got to be 6 or 7 thousand pounds. I mean, obviously, there's the one I would never sell, which would probably get me the most money, is the one that James very kindly had signed by the guys at Rare, the Sea of Thieves controller. So I have the Sea of Thieves Xbox controller with the SSD, which James got some of the developers at Rare to sign for me, and then I've got a few other special ones, but there are some in there like the Fortnite one, which is just a purple controller.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, like the Microsoft Pig and the the
The
Minecraft
Minecraft
Pig,
ones, yeah.
which I know I could sell because it is brand new, so I could sell it for probably 250. But I'm just at the moment I'm like,
Don't want to do it.
oh,
I don't want to do it.
well, when one of my babies go, that's it. The whole collection might as well go.
Yeah, yeah.
But I am building a studio, which one day you will hopefully see behind me for the other podcast. Which I am planning on putting a couple on the wall behind me and swap it in and out depending on what podcast we're doing. So yes, so right. Well, I think that's about it. I think we're at the end of the news. Anything else you wanted to touch on before we do the outro?
I don't think so, mate. No, I think
No.
that brings us quite nicely to the end, doesn't it?
Yeah, right in the 60 minutes we precursored for this. So let's edit this to see what happens. If
Yeah.
we had a couple of hitches and splats during it, so there might be a few crude cuts you saw. But yeah. So look, if you're listening to this or you're watching this, thanks for participating. Don't forget you can keep up to date with us at our website, gamersoftheLostSpark.com. You can find us on most socials. I am going to go and find some of the other socials that we're not on at Lost Spark Pod. When Darren came up with this name, he could have picked something that was a little bit easier to say. So on socials, it's at Lost Spark Pod, and on YouTube, it's Lost Spark Podcast. As I said, you can go back 10 years and watch some of our, well, actually not watch, listen to some of our younger selves talking about games. I mean, editing this document the other day was quite funny because it's like we're mentioning games that were like in 2016, 2017. So that was really funny. Steve, where can people find you these days on Xbox and social medias?
Yeah, so I am pretty much streamlined now. Like I mentioned before, I had a separate, but I'm at SteeCarter91. That's me on Xbox. That's me on PlayStation. That's me on Instagram. That's me on YouTube. Um, I think that's it. Anywhere that's relevant, anyway. So yeah, so at SteeCarter91, you'll find me.
I'll put the links to bits and pieces that we discussed in the show notes on both audio and video. For myself, gamer tag, I'm General Letdown on Xbox and I think PlayStation. I can't remember. I'm pretty sure it is. And then on social media, you'll find me on most platforms at Mr. Stuart Burgess. As I said, I've also got the other YouTube channel, which is at Home Cinema Alliance and at HCA Tech Talk, where you can just see what I get up to every day and some of the cool jobs that some of the members do with one of the businesses I got. And as I say, if you've got any feedback or you've got any suggestions or you'd like to potentially be a co-host at some point, give us an email at hello@gamersofthelostspark.com. And and we'll see you probably in a couple of weeks. I think we're going to do the next one. We'll try and do the next one, aren't we?
Yeah, we'll get something in the calendar. We'll book something in, and we'll try and be a bit more streamlined next time, maybe. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Fewer hitches,
Well,
but this was the pilot, as it were, wasn't it? This was the pilot episode.
this was the let's do it after six. I mean, I've tried to do a video podcasts from home with Simon, who I think is going to come on in a couple of weeks with us,
That'd be good.
who's a fellow gamer who does the other podcast with me. But and it has been a bit hit and miss on Riverside, on StreamYard I think is the other one, and bits and pieces like that. So yeah, so hopefully you enjoyed listening to this, and yeah, leave us some feedback, and we'll see you again in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for
Thanks,
listening.
Steve.
But yes, we'll see you soon. But thank you, yeah, thank you, Stu, for bringing it back. Really appreciate it. But yeah, it's great to be back, and yeah, look forward to the next one.
Next conversation, here we come. Cheers,
Exactly.
bud.
We'll see.
Cheers, bye.
Thank you, mate.